Welcome back to Gin in Teacups. This is our interview with the milk.
Browsing through their Twitter feed, you might come across Invisibility and ice cream. We obviously asked for an explanation.
Yes, someone reads Twitter. Brilliant. Well, great question. That's the best question we've had ever. Top 5 openings of all time.
That's the question we've been waiting for.
Who wants to answer this one then?
That was studio hysteria. We were locked in the studio all weekend, this weekend, having to write B-sides. And it gets to a point in every session where you just start talking absolute nonsense. And we were coming up with crappy motivational, you know, like you get the APs to motivate your workforce, you know. So we were like, well, the milk have got to have one of them. So we thought we'd have the 2 I's, invisibility and ice cream.
It was after about 16 hours of being in a room smaller than this. So,
yeah.
We're crazy. Yeah, watch it.
When the milk are stressed, they play word games.
I can't handle this anymore. Get the Scrabble board out.
Where's Kaplunk?
Do they tend to isolate themselves when they're writing?
Well, there's a load of stages when it comes to writing. When we're talking about being locked in and locked down, that's the point where we're all together. You know, the idea is sort of sorted out and agreed amongst us, and we're nailing it down and getting it as good as we can get it. You know, we pride ourselves in being a pretty decent rhythm section. So, you know, when we're saying we're in lockdown or anything like that, that means we're going over the same beats, the same song, the same parts of a song, the same bar of a song over and over and over and over again until it's like honed in and as good as it can be. So yeah, I mean, when writing, you know, we don't all go to the same one room, and songs are not constructed from birth like all the time in the same way. But yeah, whenever we're talking about being locked in, it is this one room and we're all together and we're sort of honing it in.
They have a very strong personal presence on social networks.
Is that because they think that fans are just friends they haven't met yet?
I think that one of the things we're really looking forward to about touring is making loads of new friends, you know, and not in like a, you know, let's pretend we're going to spend Christmas dinner together every year, but just, you know, part of working in a band and being in the music industry is the fact that it's a load of people doing what they want to do in their day. So generally the mood's quite good wherever you go, you know, and if you've been booked to play somewhere, it's because the promoter must like you and the people that have come to see you are there because they must like you. So generally we're pretty lucky, and I suppose all bands are, in that wherever you go there's a pretty positive atmosphere, you know, so it's a pretty easy way of picking up friends, you know. So yeah, I think that is important to the band.
Yeah, it's a social career, isn't it? You know, sociability sort of counts.
Yeah, man.
There's no Kurt Cobain in this band, basically. Yeah.
I suppose the way the music industry sometimes as well, it doesn't feel that personal sometimes, you know, it feels a bit, you know, contrived, and we're not really about that, you know, we're about being just normal blokes from a normal town writing songs about normal things, you know, and we want, you know, we want to have that kind of relationship with our fan base as well.
Do they think putting together the words music and industry is an oxymoron?
Yeah.
It's a necessary evil, I think.
We're not so whimsical that like we sort of skip around in like, you know, music's like an artistic form without a doubt, but you know, we go about it quite like methodical in how we sort of construct our music. I know a lot of bands at least try and come across that it's all very natural and it's all like, yeah man, I just sort of come up with this in like 2 seconds, and like, you know, you just come to me, like, you know, the art and all that. And there are, you know, you do get sparks of inspiration which obviously help, you know, but we're all about working hard and, you know, nailing down our craft, so it's not so much of an oxymoron.
I don't think there's anything, I don't think there should be, and I don't think there is anymore, any negative connotations of a band being aware of the fact that they are in a business, you know, and they're not. It's not this fairy tale where we're, you know, completely isolated artists that don't have to consider business whatsoever. But at the same time, you know, responding to nice things that people say to you on social networks that's not being industrious, that's just having manners and being polite. You know, if someone says something nice on a page and I read it, my business brain isn't kicking in, going, oh yeah, I'm in the music industry, I need to reply to this. That's just part of being a polite person, I suppose, you know.
Do they think music is the highest form of human expression because it's the least material of them all?
It's funny you talk about classical music, actually, because we was having a chat about it the other day. Last night, in fact, on the way home, after a few beers, so there might not have been a lot of sense in there. But the beauty of classical music that we were talking about last night is that you can go on a journey without having any sort of lyrical content to attach yourself to. And the thing we were talking about last night, pissed on the train home, was that we was listening to Elgar's Nimrod, which is a lovely piece of music, and you can listen to it and you can go on your own personal journey, and no one else will know that journey unless you describe it to them. But there's no place told to you within the music or story or person to attach any of your personal emotions to. It's just a sense of feeling when you listen to it. So classical music is a beautiful thing. Our music is just all about being where we're from. There's nothing that we kind of thought about and thought, oh, that would be a cool thing to write about, but had no interest or experience of. Everything that we write about is all about our town in Essex and growing up and being the four people that we are. Anything else to say, Mitch?
I'm still thinking about the question.
Yeah.
It's a good question.
Tricky. It's a tricky one. I mean, look, it's hard to ignore when it comes the material part of the question. It's hard to ignore the fact that there's a lot of materialistic sort of, artists getting a lot of attention sort of these days, more so than years ago,
I mean, really good artists that last beyond the scene that they were born in and kind of end up in the record collection of every generation are the artists that cross over from outside of music and they break into fashion, and they're not just a musical icon but they're a cultural icon. So you look at people like Madonna and even like Lady Gaga. I mean, I know she hasn't had years and years to her career, but like people like Elvis and the Beatles, they weren't just important because of the melody that they wrote. They did exactly that. They branched out into other mediums and they were more to people than the music. They told people not how to think, but a way of thinking or a way of dressing and a way of behaving and a way of thinking about the world. And I think that's where music shouldn't have its limitations, and that's where music can do that because artists are given more of a platform, which is maybe a shame. Maybe there are far more articulate artists and better thinkers than musicians a lot of the time, but the society that we're in tends to give this platform to musicians that they perhaps don't give to, visual artists, or do you know what I mean? I think it's the platform that we're given more than anything else.
I think music has a wonderful way of touching memories, the same as like smells and things like that. That things like watching films and other sort of streams of media you don't quite get. I think everyone can have their own personal song that makes them think of their first love or a holiday one year with their mates. And I don't think many other mediums achieve that in the same way.
It's that thing you said about it's just a feeling. You get a feeling, whereas I mean, not that I'm any art critic. In case you didn't know, lads, I'm not an art critic.
No,
sure.
No, never went there.
With an act like
no,
that,
but yeah, I should be. No, definitely not. When you look at art, or or when you're at school and they made you analyse poetry or literature, that you had to break it down and you had to work out why it was good. Do you know what I mean? Whereas with music, a lot of the time, it either feels good to you or it doesn't. It doesn't feel good. It's an instant feeling, which is why you say like it's the highest form of expression because of that. And I think it's. You're limited with pop music because at the same time we want to be a successful band. We want to, have long careers. So if we just write like jazz, which would be really interesting to us, maybe, it's not going to be very interesting to anyone else. So you want to write things that are interesting to other people.
Whichever the stimulus, is any reaction important?
It's absolutely important, I think. What's the point in doing it if you don't get any reaction? We'd rather have a terrible reaction to a song than no reaction at all,
The worst reaction is to be ignored.
Isn't it?
The worst reaction for any artist, no matter what they put out there, if you're ignored, that's the biggest insult of all. If there's no one caring
Yeah,
to even give a reaction, that's got to be the biggest insult.
no passion either way. You're a bit buggered, didn't you?
So complete freedom when it comes to interpretation.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I don't think you don't own the song when you put it out there and you release it anymore. You don't really have any right as to say, you know, when you're putting it together and you're writing it and you're recording it and you're making it sound how you want it to sound, you own it. But at that point where you give it out to the public, you don't own it anymore, in the sense that it's for them to judge where it will go and what it will do and how people are going to use it. Is
What
it
it
going to be a
means.
party classic, or is it going to be the breakup song, or is it going to be the soundtrack to that generation's summer that year? And I think there's a sense of detachment as soon as you release something. Cutting the umbilical cord. You know?
And also, everyone has, like you said about the other question about expression, it's all down to how people interpret it. You know, what could have been a lyric that we were trying to say something, someone else hears it completely differently and thinks something completely differently because of it. And there's nothing to say that they're not wrong, and that's what the song is actually probably about. Do you know what I mean? From their point of view. So you end up in this, you know, weird place with that stuff.
That's why I never really like hearing the artists talk about the songs and the meanings of them to them, because it kind of makes you feel, it sort of warps your perception of your own thought towards that song. Where I think the beauty of music is you make your own decisions on it, and you find your own place for it.
Yeah, I mean, there's quite a few times we've been asked to explain the theme behind a particular song by a journalist, and we always kind of hold off that kind of stuff, because we've all discussed in the past that we don't like having that explained to us about artists that we really look up to, and I don't want to kind of, you know, give up the ghost for people that might be into the milk by not letting them come to their own conclusion. You know, it kind of spoils the fun, you know.
We're sure you've enjoyed our interview with the Milk.
I'd watch it again if I were you.
You know, just to pass the time before the next one.
Wicked questions, by the way.
Honestly,
The best ever.
Best
we've
we've
had
had.
some terrible interviews. That was
Honestly.
really good. It was
Start
nice.
to back. Wicked.
It was nice being asked a serious question for once, rather than what's your favourite sock,
Bit of fluff on.
or what's your favourite cheese.
Oh.
One guy asked us.
What are you doing for Christmas?
What are you doing for Christmas?
February.
No, it was August. I asked that in August.
Yeah, in August we got asked.
August.
we
What
were
are you
doing
planning
for
for Christmas?